You have been told your entire life that your mind is the ultimate miracle. You believe that deep consciousness requires a spine and a skull like yours. But the cold truth is much more unsettling than you think. Right now, a highly intelligent mind is looking back at us from the dark. To this creature, you are a clumsy giant trapped in a narrow world. You only see what your eyes allow you to perceive in the light. But this creature lives in a dimension of taste, chemical signals, and currents. It has no bones, no spine, and 8 independent arms that think. To meet a true alien, do not look at the stars. You only need to dive into the deep, cold oceans of Earth. Here, an independent experiment in consciousness has been growing for millions of years. For decades, humans have pointed massive telescopes at the cold, starry sky. We build expensive listening dishes and send radio signals into deep space. We search for any sign of intelligence in the silent outer universe. Yet, we ignore the vast and dark watery depths of our own planet. The deep sea holds a biosphere that is completely alien to us. The creatures living down there have evolved solutions that defy our imagination. For centuries, science has assumed that complex thoughts belong only to vertebrates. We believed that mammals and birds held the exclusive key to deep awareness. We told ourselves that invertebrates were simple, unfeeling, and automatic machines. They react to light, they run from pain, but they never truly think. The scientific establishment was wrong about the limits of the natural world. The octopus represents an independent experiment in the evolution of the mind. Its consciousness was built from a completely separate, mysterious biological blueprint. This mind uses different neural tools in a dark and silent aquatic world. Today, we unlock the alien mind living in our deep oceans. We use groundbreaking research from the journal Cell to reveal their secrets. We show how these soft, boneless creatures rewrite their own brains. Please stay with us until the very end of our journey today. We will share a biological realization that reframes the nature of intelligence. This consciousness is not a rare human accident reserved for us. It is a fundamental and powerful destiny of the living universe. To understand this alien mind, we must travel back in time. We must look at the great evolutionary tree of life on Earth. If you trace your own ancestry back, you meet familiar animals. You pass through early apes, primitive mammals, reptiles, and ancient fish. All of these animals share a common, centralized skeletal layout. We all possess a central spine, a skull, and one brain. Finding our connection to the octopus requires a longer journey. We must travel back 750 million years ago. At this ancient point, the evolutionary line split violently in two. One path led to vertebrates, eventually creating fish, birds, and humans. The other path led to protostomes, creating insects, crabs, and mollusks. The last common ancestor we shared was a tiny, blind flatworm. This worm crawled in the ancient mud of a prehistoric ocean floor. It possessed only the simplest, most primitive network of nervous tissue. It had no eyes, no limbs, and no central brain. Scientists have found the fossilized tracks of this ancient Herbiliteria worm. The tracks are tiny, fossilized trails preserved in the ancient sandstone blocks. This simple creature carried the primary genetic blueprints for bilateral symmetry. It defined the future layout of left and right sides for animals. From this humble shape, two completely separate universes of intelligence arose. One universe led to internal backbones, eyes, and skulls on land. The other universe led to external shells, soft bodies, and distributed arms. This represents the greatest split in the history of earthly consciousness. This means that everything making a mind complex was invented twice. Eyes, memory, tool use, and curiosity evolved on two separate journeys. When you look at an octopus, you look at a cousin. But you look at a cousin from a completely different reality. In the ancient oceans, these two lines developed completely separate survival strategies. Vertebrates built hard internal skeletons to protect their soft, vital organs over time. Cephalopods chose a different path, eventually losing their protective external shells entirely. Without a shell, they became soft targets for fast, hungry ocean fish. This lack of armor forced them to develop intelligence to survive in nature. They needed to outsmart their predators because they could not fight them physically. Their minds became their primary shields in the dangerous underwater world. They had to become smart, fast, and camouflaged just to stay alive. How do you build a complex intelligence without a central skull? An octopus has about 500 million neurons in its body. This is roughly the same number of cells as a dog. But the way these neurons are organized is completely, beautifully alien. In your body, almost all neurons are packed inside your skull. Your brain is a centralized command post directing every single movement. But in an octopus, only 1/3 of neurons are centralized. The other 2/3 are distributed throughout the 8 individual arms. Each arm has its own independent, localized, and complex nervous system. This means that each arm can think, taste, and act alone. If you sever an octopus's arm, the arm will continue moving. It will explore the floor, avoid obstacles, and search for food. It does not need the central brain to make physical decisions. Even when severed, the arm responds to dangerous and painful chemical signals. If it touches acid or vinegar, the arm withdraws in self-defense. In laboratory experiments, scientists fed a severed octopus arm a piece of shrimp. The arm grabbed the food and folded inward toward where the mouth was. This proved the arm could coordinate complex movements without any central control. It had its own localized memory, reflexes, and motor planning systems. The arm's local nervous system decides exactly how to grasp the prey. It calculates muscle contractions locally without waiting for the central brain cells. This design reduces the computational load on the centralized nervous system significantly. The main brain does not calculate the physics of every single movement. The central brain acts as a conductor, directing a complex orchestra. It does not play every instrument, but it sets the general tempo. This is a highly efficient structure that modern roboticists are trying to copy. Engineers study the octopus to build soft robots with distributed control networks. Imagine if your hands had their own independent, thinking minds. Imagine if they could decide what to touch without your permission. This is the daily, physical reality of the ocean's octopus. It is the distributed consciousness spread across an entire soft body. The central brain acts as a general guide, suggesting overall goals, but the arms carry out the details of the physical work. They taste the rocks and decide how to grip the surfaces. Each sucker on their arms acts like a tiny, independent brain. They have their own pressure sensors and chemical receptors for tasting things. An octopus has about 200 suckers on each individual arm. This means they possess 1,600 tasting organs across their body. This unique anatomy allows them to process vast amounts of information. Each sucker on their arms is covered in sensitive chemical receptors. An octopus does not just touch the ocean floor with force. It literally tastes everything it contacts as it crawls along. It walks through a world of chemical signals you cannot imagine, and this leads directly to their intelligence in the wild. We must look at their physical lives in the ocean depths. In the shallow waters of Indonesia, a researcher made a discovery. Biologist Julian Finn was studying the behavior of the veined octopus. These creatures live in flat, muddy bays with no coral reefs. The environment is a barren desert of volcanic sand and silt. There are no rocks or crevices to hide from passing predators. To survive, the veined octopus had to become an underwater engineer. Finn watched as an octopus approached a discarded coconut shell half. The creature did not just hide inside the hard wooden shell. It cleaned the mud out of the shell using water jets. Then, it gathered the shell under its body to carry it. It walked on 2 arms, holding the shell with 6. This walking movement was clumsy, slow, and highly dangerous indeed. It made the octopus vulnerable to predators swimming in the open. The bipedal walking style required extreme muscle coordination and balance. It had to balance its entire weight on 2 soft tentacles. The octopus stacked one shell inside the other to make carrying easier. This stacking method is like carrying nested plastic cups to a picnic. It requires spatial awareness and a clear understanding of physical geometric shapes. The octopus evaluates the size of both shells before picking them up. It grips the wooden shields tightly and walked across the muddy silt. This movement resembled a small coconut rolling slowly along the seafloor. But the octopus did not drop its heavy wooden treasure. It carried the object for dozens of meters across the sand. Eventually, it found another matching coconut shell half in the mud. It pulled both halves together, creating a perfect, protective wooden sphere. It climbed inside, pulling the lid shut to hide from threats. This is a famous observation of defensive tool use in invertebrates. It is not a simple, automatic reaction to an immediate danger. The octopus gathered the shell when it was completely safe. It carried the tool across the ocean floor for future protection. This behavior requires foresight, memory, and a clear understanding of time. It planned ahead, recognizing that shelter would be needed much later. This level of planning belonged only to humans and great apes. But here, a boneless mollusk was demonstrating the exact same skill. This intelligence is also directed at the humans who study them. At the Seattle Aquarium, researchers set out to test their memory. They wanted to see if octopuses could recognize individual people. Two caretakers wore identical blue uniforms and performed similar tank routines, but they behaved very differently toward a group of giant octopuses. One caretaker always fed the octopuses, placing tasty crabs nearby. The other caretaker was annoying, touching them with a bristly stick. After 2 weeks, the researchers swapped the caretaker's daily tasks. But the octopuses were not fooled by the identical blue uniforms. They hid in the back when the annoying caretaker approached. But when the feeding caretaker arrived, they swam forward eagerly. They extended their arms, welcoming the person they trusted most. One octopus even sprayed a jet of water at the bully. The blast of water was delivered through its high-pressure siphon. The water jet hit the handler's face with surprising, targeted force. This was a targeted emotional response to a specific human threat. This proves that octopuses distinguish between individual human faces easily. They did not rely on scent through the thick aquarium glass. They used visual cues, memorizing the features of their handlers. They recognized caretakers, even when they wore identical masks and clothes. They kept track of who was friendly and who was dangerous. This memory is incredibly durable, lasting for many weeks without reinforcement. It shows that their minds are active, observant, and calculating. They form social grudges and build trust with specific human beings. They watch our movements and understand our intent through the glass. But how do these creatures maintain such a complex, active brain? To keep a large brain working, you need stable genes. In humans, our genes are locked in our DNA blueprints. We rely on rare genetic mutations to adapt to new environments. But the octopus has found a way to bypass this process. And this brings us to the breakthrough published in the journal Cell. Researchers Joshua Rosenthal and Eli Eisenberg studied octopus temperature adaptation. When water temperatures drop, neural proteins can slow down and fail. In freezing water, ordinary nerve channels lose their ability to conduct signals. The protein gates freeze up and cannot open or close properly. This would cause the animal to freeze, paralyze, and quickly die. Most animals must wait thousands of years for DNA mutations. But the octopus does not wait for natural selection to act. It uses a molecular mechanism called adenosine to inosine RNA editing. Inside their brain cells, octopuses change single letters of genetic code. They do not alter their DNA. They edit temporary RNA copies. The editing enzyme ADAR acts directly on the neural message transcripts. This ADAR enzyme replaces the genetic letter adenosine with a molecule called inosine. The cell translation machinery reads this inosine as if it were guanosine. This swaps the amino acid isoleucine for valine in the potassium channels. By editing these transcripts, the octopus keeps its nerves firing quickly. The edited potassium channels remain flexible and functional in freezing water. This molecular shield allows the brain to function in icy deep seas. This allows them to rewrite neural protein structures on the fly. When the water gets cold, they edit their neural RNA. This edit produces cold-tolerant proteins to keep the brain active. When the water warms up, they revert the genetic edits. This is a form of real-time, molecular, and cellular shape-shifting. It allows them to tune brain activity to their immediate environment. The scale of this RNA editing is absolutely mind-blowingly massive. In humans, only a fraction of neural genes undergo editing. But in the octopus, over 60% of neural genes edit. They rewrite their own brain chemistry as they live their lives. This molecular flexibility gives them an incredible survival advantage indeed. It allows them to live in freezing depths and warm pools. But this ability comes at a significant and evolutionary cost to them. To keep this editing system working, DNA must remain static. They cannot allow their DNA to mutate, or editing sites fail. The genetic code must be preserved to keep the enzymes working. This means they sacrifice long-term genetic evolution for immediate adaptation. The octopus chose immediate flexibility over long-term DNA changes. They are genetic editors, shaping their own minds in real time. This active, self-editing brain leads to another fascinating, deep question. Does this complex, active mind ever rest in the dark? Does an octopus experience sleep the way we do at night? And do they dream of their experiences in the sea? To find out, neuroscientists in Brazil studied sleeping reef octopuses. Researchers Siddhartha Ribeiro and Silvia Medeiros monitored octopuses in tanks. They observed that the animals cycle through two distinct sleep states. The first state is quiet, still, and peaceful sleep indeed. The octopus lies completely still, its skin pale and very smooth. Its eyes are slit-like, and it does not react to movement. But every 30 minutes, this quiet sleep is interrupted. The octopus transitions into a state of active, dynamic sleep. Its skin begins to pulse with vivid colors and changing textures. The skin shifting resembles their active hunting and warning displays. It shifts from smooth gray to bumpy dark brown, then orange. Their skin displays dark stripes, light spots, and raised bumps. They flash the vertical stripes that mimic moving kelp leaves. Then, they switch to the rough texture of dead coral blocks. These changes match the patterns used when hunting on the reef. Its eyes twitch rapidly, and its arms flare and contract. This active sleep lasts for only a minute or two. Then, the creature returns to the quiet, pale sleep state. The researchers compared this active state to REM sleep in mammals. During human REM sleep, the brain fires, creating vivid dreams. The biological similarity to cephalopod active sleep is truly striking. The octopus's brain during active sleep shows high-frequency wave patterns. These patterns are similar to when the animal is awake. The color changes on their skin match their active waking states. They display patterns used when hunting crabs or hiding from sharks. It is highly likely that they are dreaming of their lives. They may be dreaming of catching prey or escaping dangerous predators. Imagine a dream displayed directly on your skin for the world. A canvas of thoughts flashing in the dark ocean water. This is the ultimate evidence of a rich, subjective experience. They do not just shut down. They process and remember. They consolidate the memories of their daily survival during these dreams. Their minds remain active, exploring the deep even while they rest. Now, let us bring these three loops together at last. Let us look at the grand realization of what this means. When you look at the ocean, you see a cradle. The octopus represents a mind completely separate from our own history. Its brain is distributed across 8 arms, tasting and thinking locally. Its genetic code is edited on the fly, bypassing DNA. Its sleep is active, filled with the shifting colors of dreams. And this brings us to the ultimate, humbling human realization. We believe that our minds are the only standard for intelligence. We assume complex brains must look like ours in design. We expect a central spine and a protective, bony skull. We look at the universe, wondering if we are alone. But the octopus proves that nature has built minds twice. Millions of years ago, on the ancient ocean floor, life chose. One branch went up, building spines, skeletons, and eventually humans. The other branch went sideways, remaining soft, boneless, and deep. Yet, both branches arrived at the exact same conscious destination. Both created creatures that can plan, remember, and dream. This means that consciousness is not a rare human miracle. It is a fundamental, inevitable property of the living universe. It is an evolutionary force that will always find expression. If the human race disappeared tomorrow, minds would not die. The spark of consciousness would continue flickering in the dark. It would continue to edit chemistry, solve puzzles, and dream. The next time you look at the sea, respect it, because you are looking at an alternative version of ourselves. An ancient, boneless cousin that has been thinking in the dark, sharing the world with us, silently watching and dreaming dreams. If this video changed your perspective, leave a like today. Please subscribe to our growing channel named Wild Sentience. It helps us grow and share these stories with you. Tomorrow morning, look out at the beautiful, wild world outside. Remember the molecular factories ticking inside their soft animal chests. They are not empty. Unfeeling biological machines in the grass. They are feeling, remembering, and dreaming of their own worlds. I read every single comment on our channel. Hearing your stories is the highlight of my day. It shows how you connect with wild neighbors around you. Tell us your stories in the comments section below today. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next.